So I finally heard somebody else talking about it. The screw job of the Democrat, the high party, like the Debbie Wasserman Schultz type, whoever it was that got the fundraiser type, the Democratic higher up or that skipped the border and went north. Like everybody's skipping the border and going south. Even Brookfield, Kami Carney's wife, all these people, they're heading south of the border. But then there's this Democrat that's like, you're going to work in Canada with higher taxes and the money's worth less? And that happened just in the weeks preceding. Everybody was talking about the trip to Italia. What the trip to Italy is like totally fucked up. And I think that Tuscany is in the north, so that's where all the highfalutin types, and that's what they said. They met with Soros' son, they met with Trudeau, they met with, who was that other, the Brookfield guy, the guy who does work at Brookfield still. He just so happened to be vacationing in Italy. And then they come back early for the deal, and you're thinking, oh, okay, this is sounding not too bad. But it was that Democratic operative, the office leader who stayed in town the whole time, the whole way through, right? So that's pretty fucking weird, folks. I don't know what to tell you on that one. But at least some other people is talking about it, because they just talk about the Italy and this and that, and everybody was missing. It was weeks ago. It was like, what the fuck's this? Did we have secret double agents on both sides but they're the USA agents, but they're not USA agents on behalf of the administration. They're on behalf of the opposition in Carney's camp. That's really fucked up. Now we've got no deal, and we've got no bourbon. There's no way we can get the bourbon here in BC because we got that motherfucker EB. So it's easier to get fentanyl and drown your fucking sorrows with fentanyl here in BC when you're sleeping rough on the street or ain't got no job and your old lady left you and took the kids. Oh yeah, and the other day it was raining. That was another good one when you're out rough on the streets. All because of fucking EB. You can get that fucking fent a whole hell of a lot of easy, but you can't get any bourbon. Like, what the fuck? How are we supposed to drown our sorrows, Canada? We're all fucking crapped out here. More so on the West Coast. But now they're talking like the deal on autos would basically be the same. Maybe they wouldn't have had so much USA companies moving if the deal was the same, or, manufacturing moving to the state side from Ontario, if the deal was more or less the same, going from 6.25% to maybe 7.5 percentages. That doesn't sound too bad. That seems like they were doing the same thing of, they called it value added products. They would just drive the truck around in circles around the border. That was many years ago. Then inflation happened and they found a way to super inflate and get more value out of those products anyways without having to burn the petrol. They just added the tariffs on incrementally on each side. So they've been at this for a while, folks. But more recently, what's with the Democratic operative? If we can't get to see the trade deal as it stood 5 days ago, a few or several days ago, why does the Democratic Party, why does the Democratic double agent in Carney's office, I bet you they got to see the trade deal. I bet you they got to fucking, are they double dealing on the inside, telling Carney, you just wait for the midterms. we'll get you a better deal. We'll get you a better deal out of Trump. There could be so much, I don't know, for lack of a better term, espionage going on here just to keep me away from the fucking bourbon. And it's pushing us towards the Chinese fentanyl when we could be drinking good fucking bourbon. But instead, we gotta drink that fucking rye, which isn't so bad in itself. And, you know, I like rye. My tea's still too hot. But no rye, no bourbon. Not yet this morning. It's Monday. I got shit to do. I gotta hit the ground running. I gotta get my shit together, so to say, one of these days, right? I just can't believe it. Easier to get fentanyl, cheaper, more plentiful, harder to get bourbon that's 80 or 90 proof. Like, that's what I always said about that fent shit. Taking 2 tokes of that is as if you chugging in the time that it takes you, maybe 30 seconds, maybe less than a minute, to smoke those 2 puffs. It's equivocal to as if you just drank a whole, like, 2.6 or 40 ouncer, depending on your body weight, of the good Kentucky straight bourbon. Like, who would want to do that, you know? You want to sip on that bourbon. You want to savor it over the course of a whole evening. But not the Fent. It just hits you like a fucking dump truck. I don't know why anybody would want to do that. I know I just sure as hell want to get at the fucking Yankee Doodle Dandy bourbon again so I can drown my fucking sorrows out here, you know, on the fucking streets with all the fucking bullshit. But no, that's too good for us. That's too good for us because we have Democratic operatives and insider, you know, if there's like a Mr. Insider Trading, Carney's got to have been, like, he's insider trading. They said in England he was so political when you're supposed to be apolitical when you're at the Bank of England or at the BOC. Nope, super political. I heard the guy on the show yesterday, Gord, he explained the whole synopsis much better than I did with the Stephen Harper and with the, the gutting of the pension plans. They took a whole bunch of money out of the pension plans. And the CMHC, that's why the housing's been in fucking problems with the defaults ever since then. Because the defaults have been rising when the defaults weren't raising in Canada after 2008. They spent everything that they had, well, not everything, but they took a whole bunch out of other government agencies that were in surplus to balance the budget when the budget had gone down, or when the GDP had gone down below projections. But that was before Carney, and then Carney got in, and then he wanted to do the quantitative easing. And the guy before him, he wouldn't do it. But fucking Harper put him in there, and then he moved on to the Bank of England, and he was political both times, and he's got insider dealings in these fucking companies he works with in between the politicians and the other markets at the market, on the open market, the brokerage firms that he's a Mr. Backdoor Deal, folks. I'm sure that there's been worse out there, but that's what we got, and they're selling Canada out. And if this Democratic operative on the inside, and they knew that, like, would the companies be, they're going to the States at such a high rate, would the companies be leaving Canada if they got pretty much the same deal that they'd had before? And if this deal could have been reached 15, 16 months ago, and it's like the same kind of thing, and not 50%, not 25%, not all these wide-ranging tariffs on all these small businesses. They're going after the small businesses, folks, more so than the big guys. But even if the big guys, they're just gonna be all sold out, and guess who's buying them? Yankee motherfucking Doodle Dandy. Yeah, they'll blame the Chinese or some bullshit like that, but it's gonna be the fucking Yankees. So I think it's actually the reverse, that the no trade deal, it's selling us out to the Yankees far more and far faster, but it's selling us out to the Wall Street, to the investment. That's the only thing that they said that's been investment into Canada is being bought out, and then those companies, they're going to get moved out. So that seems to be the program that we're working on these days. I don't know what to tell you. It's convoluted. That Gord guy sure explained it better. But he wasn't talking about what is going to happen or what is happening and summarizing that. He was talking about what happened fucking 15 years back when Mark Carney took over for the fucking BOC. And then he was advisor fucking to Trudeau, and he advised Trudeau to do the quantitative easing, and now we're $1.5 trillion in debt, but the dollar hasn't dropped. So look out for a 60-cent dollar, and then when it's, nickels on the dollar for the fucking Yankees, they'll come in here and just buy everything up, and you got sold out to the fucking Yankees by the motherfucker, and during the time that they told you we're standing up to them because you're that fucking stupid, and they're that such obvious liars that it's the opposite's land, and you should have known better. And we gotta, if it's not time for Trucker Convoy 2.0 yesterday, then it's past its due date tomorrow. Fuck. Anywho, I'm gonna fuck off myself, and you folks have a wonderful week, and we will catch up with you later.